Hi and welcome to the Studio Marco Primeau. A few of you asked me about outboard gear, so today's video is all about it. Let's dive in. When looking at the big studios, big rooms, ton of microphones, there's another thing that catch your eyes. It's all the outboard gears. Of course, apart with the big console with 100 channels, there's a lot of stuff going on the walls. And for many of us, they are kind of like a dream and a nightmare because you're just asking, how can I one day buy all this stuff? Well, the thing is, it might not be so relevant today as it was in the 60s and the 70s. So in this video, that's what I'm going to talk about. Is outboard gear still relevant? And where to put your money where it counts. So first, what is an outboard gear? Well, outboard will be out of something, and that something is your computer. Because 90% of the recordings today are done with a computer. Everything outside of your computers that serves you as a tool to record could be determined as outboard gear. But in the recording world, usually people don't talk about outboard gear for microphones or cables or stuff like that. They will determine what is outboard as compressor, EQs, and other tools that serves to modify the sound, and not only what grabs it to go in. There's a lot of philosophy with this. If you are doing a mixing in your computer, you can take your signal and put it out of your audio interface, send it to an outboard gear, and then take the signal back to the computer and record the result. And this would be what we call round trips. So this signal goes out and goes back to the computers and being modified along the way. So you have to ask yourself, is that outboard gear where you're sending your signal to worth the money and the sound that it is giving you? When I built this studio, I brought stuff from my older one, and there was a mixer that I was working with, a 32 channel mixer, and the value of it was about $5,000. And if you split the value on each channel, removing all the knobs and everything, you realize that the preamp quality wasn't very high. And to me, I think that the most important part about recording is the recording phase. So capturing the sound, then it makes sense to put your money in that step. So that's what I did. I prioritize investing in good preamps, and that is when the quality of my recordings went up very fast. Because when you record with the right gear, you realize that the mixing part is very easy because it already sounds good. Fixing it in a box might be a thing for many, but you soon realize that if your audio capture isn't right, you can't reinvent the audio afterward. Meaning, if I record a bass and there's no high frequencies, and I need some high frequencies to put the bass in the mix and have some presence, I'm just screwed. You can't invent that sound. So that's the whole idea here. Capture it right, and it will be easy to mix. Let me show you what I bought, what I use, how it's connected. So this is a picture of my studio. I spread the tools on both sides. We're going to start with this side. The core of the studio is the RMA UFX, which is this unit. And I also have a RMA 800, which I use only for headphone mixes. So what I do, I take the output of the two ADAT ports, goes to ADAT in 1 and 2, and within the Fireface 800, I redirect those signals to the 8 analog outputs, which gives me 4 different headphone mix. And since those are line level, you need an amplifier, so I chose the ART Ed-Am 6 Pro. This is interesting because it gives you output on the front and in the back. So those in the back, I patched them through my walls, so you have headphones everywhere. So the 800 sends 4 different stereo mixes to the ART. And then I also send from the UFX the channel 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 for a total of 6 headphone mixes that I can control separately and decide what the musician is hearing. All those mixes are done through the Total Mix FX. So if I record live, I can decide that this headphone mix receive my vocal, maybe a bit of this preamp and this preamp, and so on. I can have a different mix for each. Then let's talk about preamps. The UFX 4 first channels receive signals from my Focusrite ISA 428. So the 3 first channel output goes directly to 1, 2, and 3 input in the UFX. The 4th channel, I send the output to a compressor and then to the 4th channel of the UFX. The compressor itself is the Golden Age Comp 3A. So that's how it goes. The 4th channel's output goes to the compressor and then to the 4th input of the UFX. So that gives me a great vocal signal path. The ISA is very clean. It gives up to 80 dB of clean gain, no distortion, no noise. It is built with transformers at the input and at the output. So it's very clean, but a tiny bit of mojo. And then the Comp 3A also have some sound to it. It's a very good signal path for most vocals. Then the channel 5, 6, 7, and 8, I have 2 ISA2, same preamps as the 428, except there's no view meter and they are paired by 2 on 1 rack space. So I have 2 of those. And as for the usage, most of the time I will use the ISA for drums recording or acoustic instruments. So the first channel is often plugged with my bass drums, snare bottom. The 4th channel is kept for vocals or other acoustic instruments. And then with the ISA2, I might use them on guitar cabs, overheads, and acoustic guitars. 80 dB of clean gain is a blessing when you are doing some fingerstyle acoustic guitar. Very nice. And this little one below the compressor is a Zoom F4. The Zoom F4, I bought it to record videos when I go on site. So if I have multiple microphones to record and I want to do a video shoot, I mostly bring this one instead of the rest of the big gear. After that, we have here a controller. This is not a mixer. It just controls what the software does. Any DAW can be controlled with this one, the Icon QCon Pro X. Then if we go to the other side, we have 2 LA610. What is nice about the LA610 is that you can adjust them to be very clean. Even though they are tube, they can be very clean sounding. Or you can push the gain and get some saturation on the vocals or any instrument that you throw at it. The 2 LA610 are connected to a high-end converter, the Mytek AD96. So they are connected here in the inputs. And I use the AES out to go to the Fireface UFX. So it goes from this output to this input. So as you see, I use every ports of the unit. to get the maximum inputs and outputs. After the Universal Audio LA610, we have two 1173. Those are made by UK Sound, and they're said to be an inspiration from the classic 1073 preamp from Neve and the compressor 1176 from Universal Audio. I can say right away that they do not sound like a real Neve or a real 1173, but I still find them handy. Having a preamp and a compressor, very good on bass drum, snare, electric guitar cabs, give it a bit of mojo, some harmonic distortions, so that's very good. You can reamp stuff through them too, but they are not very accurate, so you can put the master bus on them. Having the same levels on both sides is a bit difficult. Then we have the Universal Audio 4710. The 4710 offers 4 preamps and 8-channel converter. So this is where I send the 1173 and also my talkback channel, which I will discuss a bit later. So 4 preamps that you can switch from solid state to tube. 2 different sounds. It's very subtle, the difference between the two. The biggest difference is when you make the channel saturate, and I must say this unit saturates very easy, so you have to be careful with the gain. There's a compressor on board, could be nice for a bass or maybe some room mics, stuff like that, but I rarely use the compressor. The 4710 mainly for me is used on toms and room mics, so it sounds good for that. I would not put vocal on it. As I said, it saturates very easy, so not so clean on that side. And 4-channel of preamps, but also 8-channel of conversions. So that's where I send the 1173 for 2 of those available conversion. And then my talkback mic goes to a cheap Behringer MC100. The output goes to one of those inputs in the Universal Audio. So that's it for all the tools on my desk. Of course, monitors and a little gadget to say I'm on air and stuff like that. As you see, all my outboard is used to capture sound, not really to process it after it's in the box. For me, what's in the box stays in the box. There is enough plugins to modify the sound. I just focus on getting the best recording as possible with those tools, and then after that in the box it's very easy to make a mix. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on the like button, consider subscribing, hit the bell to get notifications, put questions and comments below, and of course share my videos. It's always a great help.